The big problem is a blanket censorship of not talking about any subject, in terms of, like, you can't mention sex, or you can't mention race riots or police things. And the thing that we would like to say is that if you can discuss a subject intelligently and artfully, then you should be able to discuss it. In other words, it shouldn't be a total blanket censorship of the subject. In other words, if you handle it well, then you should be able to do it.
Is the network entitled to the last say in what is aired?
Yes, they are.
Should they be, in your opinion?
Well, it's kind of backwards, you know. The commodity is the art, and the business part of it is controlling the statement. In other words, there are all kinds of pressures from, I guess, from sponsors, and the so-called morality of what people will accept, and it just doesn't seem right, you know. I do believe that censorship is valid, because if you didn't have it, you'd really be deluged with a lot of bad taste, a lot of toilet humor.
The abandoned cats and dogs in town should be taken to the animal shelters. There are people who will get a cat or a dog, and they will take it home and keep it a short time, and then they'll take it and put it in someone's yard or put it in a shopping center. And if it's not picked up by someone who takes it home, then it stays there to either starve or whatever, and breed promiscuously, so that there are more and more animals that don't have homes. These animals are very frightened and lonely, of course, and one solution to the problem is that people who take animals must realize that they are responsible for that animal. One of the biggest solutions to this problem, of course, is for everyone who owns a female cat or dog to have that animal spayed. And there is a lot of opposition to the spaying of animals in some way, but you must look at it that there are enough animals in the world that don't have homes. And the animals that your unspayed cat or dog produces, even though you find homes for them, you're taking homes away from the animals that are homeless at the shelters. The two shelters in town are the Society for Animal Protection at 3816 East Overton Road and the SPCA at 323 South Industrial. We have a spaying program in our club, and we do want to talk with people who are interested in hearing the reasons for spaying animals, and we would urge you to call either one of our telephone numbers, Emerson 12775 or Lakeside 23491, and there will be someone at each of those numbers who can probably answer your questions.
The censor sits somewhere between the scenes to be seen and the television sets, with his scissor purpose poised, watching the human stuff that will sizzle through the magic wires and light up like welding shops the ho-hum rooms of America. And with the kindergarten arts and crafts concept of moral responsibility, snips out the rough talk, the unpopular opinion, or anything with teeth, and renders a pattern of ideas full of holes, a doily for your mind. And that's really what I feel that television is, with the censorship it has. It's just it's kind of useless. You know, you don't really get any education or super entertainment out of it. It's just sort of a standard mediocrity, and it could really be great. It really could be.
This subject, of course, is quite controversial, and it's not easy to assess, but the broadcast industry has the self-imposed codes, the television codes. Do you find it impossible to write what you consider meaningful comedy within these codes?
Yes, quite often there are several things in the way. There's artistic censorship, in terms of you can't move because of the economic structure of a network, the way it's run. It's so costly and important that there's no room to expand. For example, time-wise, in the Petula Clark special that we did about a year ago, we had 61 minutes of a very fine show, and the network wouldn't give us an extra minute. We had to chop out something to make it a little jumpy, and all I can assume from that unwillingness to work with the idea that you have is that if God came down to create the earth in 6 days, the network could probably give him 5. But
The fourth annual Walter Prescott Webb Memorial Lecture Series is currently underway at the University of Texas at Arlington. And the topic for discussion this year is politics in the contemporary South. The first speaker today was Dr. George Green, an associate professor of history at the University of Texas at Arlington. He took as his topic the right wing of Texas and the politics of fanaticism. Following his address, I talked with Dr. Green about what he had said. Dr. Green, in your remarks today, you've taken on such men as H.L. Hunt, Dan Smoot, and J. Evetts Haley. You've taken on cities from Houston to Dumas, newspapers from the Borger Herald to the Dallas Morning News. You've discussed the Minutemen, the Minutewomen, the DAR, the American Legion, and the great state of Texas. What exactly are you trying to prove?
I guess I'm trying to prove that the right wing is still a threat in this state. Less of a threat now than it was in 1962, 1963, but still a threat, particularly on the level of school boards, on the level of boards of regents of small colleges. This is where their impact is. They have terrorized this state in textbook censorship and in electing super patriots to these boards and regents. And while their threat may be less today, I believe we have to be zealous in keeping our eyes on.
The Webb Memorial Series is intended to commemorate the ideas and works of historian Walter Prescott Webb, who